Richard Goldman is founder and chairman of Goldman Insurance Services in San Francisco. In 1951, he and his late wife established the Richard and Rhoda Goldman Fund, which supports charitable organizations primarily in the San Francisco Bay Area, organizations devoted to children, youth, the elderly, the environment, education, violence prevention, and Jewish community affairs. Mr. Goldman has been a board member of virtually every important civic, cultural, and academic organization in the Bay Area, as well as a prominent leader of the Jewish community here. The Goldmans have been wonderfully strong supporters of environmental work, and in 1990 they established the prestigious, unique, and eponymous Goldman Environmental Prize, which gives $125,000 annually to environmental grassroots activists from 6 continental regions of the world, offering those individuals recognition that their critical efforts deserve. The prize has been an inspiration to environmentalists throughout the world. It's my pleasure to introduce Richard Goldman, who will then introduce a movie and one of the distinguished 2,000 recipients of the Goldman Environmental Prize.
Good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be with you. Before I start with my remarks, I want to compliment the founders of this event, and at least the woman I know best who worked the hardest to make this happen. It's remarkable that Jane Wales was able to reach out to 340 people and turning away others to participate in this first, which I hope will be, annual forum. I'm going to talk about 2 items and then have the pleasure of introducing a remarkable woman to you. The first thing I will discuss is a matter of what I feel from being involved for quite a while, the improvements that can be made in the world of philanthropy. And in making these remarks, I want you to understand these are just a personal comment about what I've been seeing over the years, and it's not really my role in any way to try to pursue these matters, it's simply just to express them. Philanthropy is really a responsibility of all of us, and to whatever degree fits most appropriately. Now, everybody here knows that philanthropy is a multi-billion-dollar annual service which has had a tremendous impact throughout the world, ranging from the protection of species and even to the production of Sesame Street. I've devoted 5 decades to the subject. And today what I'm going to do is present to you 4 areas of improvement, in my opinion, that would have a major impact on international grant making. First, up to 1/2 of the total contributions of American foundations each year should be directed overseas to assist causes and people who are in desperate need of assistance. An appropriate place to start. An appropriate place to start is to provide financial aid to the women and children of Afghanistan, which we have done through our foundation. Now, the way we did it is right after 9/11, we wanted to do something. We didn't know how. Fortunately, the Asia Foundation, who's represented here by several of its directors, Bill Fuller in particular, happens to have an office in Islamabad. And when we learned of that, we asked them to assist. And they came to us with two organizations, one to assist women and one to assist children. That money was sent promptly, and I trust it's been spent. Our concern was to be sure that the money went to the right place at the right time. And I think, and in fact, in talking with Bill Fuller just a few minutes ago, hopefully next week he will have a press conference to let other people know how they can help in this particular area. Now, when I said half of the money, I know that sounds like a pretty big number, but my philosophy is shoot for the moon and settle for a half moon. So whatever is done, let's hope that we can move in that direction. My second point is that philanthropists should reevaluate endowments, which fall into two categories, specific and perpetual. Specific endowments are those directed to a designated program and are justifiable for purposes such as underwriting chairs to support professors in various disciplines. Perpetual endowments are another story. For example, and I don't mean to pick on the school, but Harvard University has over $20 billion of endowment and is constantly seeking additional funding. Why does Harvard allow this money to basically lay dormant, waiting for the unexpected, which may never occur, when the bulk of the money could be put to immediate use? In the United States today, there are over $600 billion of endowment funds spending approximately 5% annually to serve the needs for which the money was provided. Why not spend the corpus to be replenished by future generations? It was a surprise to me in discussing perpetual endowments with a friend to have him produce an article from which I quote, "All of this giving and receiving is proceeding without much of any attention to the underlying question whether perpetual endowments are desirable. Perhaps the time has come to examine, or rather re-examine, this question, for it is not a new one in the long history of philanthropy." Now, this quote was part of an article written by Sears Roebuck founder Julius Rosenwald in 1929. The third concern I have is that there is an accepted premise that many foundations should exist in perpetuity rather than having a designated lifespan. I believe that once terminated, foundations would be replaced by new funds as each generation takes its mantle of responsibility. Now, I know there are a lot of people in this room that will not agree, but I think that it has merit. Our foundation, for example, will terminate 10 years after my death, with the remaining assets distributed to the foundations of my family. And hopefully we will establish before that time designated areas where some of the funds can be put into a position to serve into the future. My fourth suggestion is that foundations be required to increase the amount of money they give away each year. In place of the 5% rule, Congress should increase the giving requirements to 10% of a foundation's assets. And by the way, I encourage all of us to speak to this point. I know that it's getting a little attention, and if everybody in this room feels inclined, I think it'll get a lot more attention. And particularly when you realize that of the 5%, it's not only giving the money away, but it's also spending money on the operation of the company, including its offices and whatever else it intends to do. One area in which the global needs are great is the environment. Those are the four suggestions in this particular paper that I wrote a few months ago, and really didn't intend to do anything but just to hand it out to a few people, and somehow or other it's getting around. So I think there's a moral here that if you have something to say, do it and take the consequences whatever way they may go, but at least be willing to speak out. Now, one area in which the global needs are great is the environment. Our family fund has long demonstrated a strong commitment to it. In 1989, my late wife and I created the Goldman Environmental Prize. Building on what we were already doing and extending those efforts around the world, our intention was to recognize the work of unsung heroes who were struggling to save their regions from environmental devastation, protecting the rainforests, preventing dams, helping with the health of women, children, or everybody, and on and on. It was a simple idea. It came to me one morning when I was having breakfast, and I was reading about some Nobel Prizes, and I thought, I wonder if there's anything comparable being done in the area of the environment, and to our total surprise, the answer was no. So then there was a question, what do you do about it? So we decided, well, let's try. So we set up the prize, and we'll be celebrating our 13th year in April. And so far, we've been very fortunate. I think the timing might have been pretty good to do it, and it is being recognized, and we just continue to honor the people who are extraordinary and are situated throughout the world. So we give the prize one to a person from each continent each year. And as a result of this, and by the way, the prize includes a original piece of sculpture and a check for $125,000. This year, as we've done in the past, we'll have the award in April, and then we take the winners to Washington for the week, where they have a chance to meet people in our government, world organizations like the World Bank, greeted by the Smithsonian Institute, and it gives them a chance to not only get to know one another, but to also share their knowledge with influential organizations of our country. Now, on April 22nd, we'll have the event at the Opera House in San Francisco. And after this year, we will have given prizes to 87 individuals from 55 countries. So I think the moral of that story is, if you get an idea, try it. And if it works, good luck. And if it doesn't work, at least you've given it the opportunity. And it's not so hard. I could take a long time to explain to you how we put it together, but let's just state that it's very simple. We do it by a process that's very easy to work, and everyone who's won the prize is very much entitled to the recognition. And by the way, they are all grassroots environmentalists, having been known to nobody in the Western world other than those who might win the prize for North America. Now, those are the 2 points I wanted to make. One about the future of philanthropy, and the other about how we started the prize. Now I have a particular pleasure, and that is to introduce one of our prize recipients. Ataniyazova of Uzbekistan was awarded the prize for Asia in the year 2000. Oral is tackling the environmental health and crises facing her community, which is suffering from the toxic legacy of decades of Soviet-era management that ruined the environment around the Aral Sea, once one of the world's largest freshwater lakes. Cotton production, mining, and biological weapons manufacture in and around that area have polluted and contaminated farmlands and water supplies for 3 million people. The health of women and children has suffered severely. In 1992, Oral founded Prize-Recipient, a center for reproductive health and environment. Over the past 15 years, there has been an increase in the rates of anemia, kidney and liver disease, allergies, tuberculosis, birth defects, and reproductive pathologies. As a medical doctor and as an activist, She fights courageously for the security and health of her region's people. Amidst all of her responsibilities at home, she manages to speak globally to world leaders and international agencies about the continuing crisis in the Aral Sea. Oral's activities concentrate on women and how they can improve their lives, including family health and the quality of food and water. Present trains local groups in health and hygiene and sustainable agriculture, as well as women's and children's rights. What we're going to do now is show the video of Oral, the year that she received the prize, and then she will come to the podium and will speak to you on whatever subjects that she has in mind. She's small in stature but large in world recognition. She is a marvelous human being. Thank you very much for your attention.
To put clothing on the backs of a nation of 400 million, the former Soviet Union established cotton collectives along Central Asia's Amu Darya River. But after decades of hyper-concentrated cotton farming, the region is beginning to suffer the horrible consequences of its role as cotton basket to the Soviet nation.
The main territory of Karakalpakstan used it for agriculture. During many years, the overusing of pesticides exhausted the land.
Ataniyazova is a native of the ethnically distinct, proudly independent Republic of Karakalpakstan in the northernmost plains of Uzbekistan. The Aral Sea was once one of the largest inland bodies of water in the world, but a network of Soviet-built dams and irrigation canals have drained off so much fresh water from the rivers that feed it that today the Aral is a dead sea.
And the more they find out about it, the more they realize just how great the problems are. It's a world-class environmental disaster.
Across once fertile farmland, dust storms now rage. Abandoned fishing boats lie in salt flats 50 miles from the receding shoreline. On this sterile landscape, laid waste by toxic chemicals, the women and children who tend family farms now find themselves at ground zero.
They're directly connecting with pesticides, with herbicides like DDT, like Linden.
If a conversation with Ataniyazova sounds more like one with a medical doctor than an environmentalist, that's because she's both. After working as an obstetrician in the farmlands of Karakalpakstan, she encountered health problems beyond the scope of her medical training.
She began with the problem of reproductive health of women in the most dangerous place in Central Asia.
Environment is worsening, and especially people in the rural area, they don't prepare to improve or to be responsible for their health. It's very important to give knowledge to people, just simple information about health, about body, about diet, about food, about environment, water quality.
Ataniyazova returned to university, where she earned a PhD for her studies in women's infertility.
20 years ago, I could find only few women with disease, and now we discovered illnesses among most of women, 90 or 100% of women.
In 1992, she established Present, a Center for Reproductive Health and Environment. Still a practicing physician, Dr. Ataniyazova reminds us that the tragedy of the Aral Sea is not just an environmental issue, it is very much a women's issue.
Part of Present's program, when they decided to start working to set up clinics in other villages outside of Nukus, was that they set up these sort of help desks in regional clinics, and then they started to go door to door to women to see if there are any sick people in this house or any sick people in that house, and to encourage women to feel more comfortable coming to specifically this health desk at this clinic where they could speak more openly about what kind of medical problems they had.
A dozen other projects and programs operate under the Present banner: a kindergarten and child care center, environmental monitoring, seminars on domestic violence. They set up a 50-acre demonstration farm where organic fruits and vegetables are grown to supplement meals at a local hospital.
And therefore, someone like Oral, who is able to go from the problems of pregnant women giving birth to deformed children or having anemia to the necessity of cleaning up the environment, of the necessity of becoming politically active, and as NGOs become more a part of everyday life, the job has grown, and as the job has grown, her ability to do things with it has also grown.
At times, Ataniyazova feels that hers is the only voice speaking to the plight of Karakalpak women. But it is the clearest and most forceful voice in her field. Ataniyazova is a candle in the darkness, shedding light and bringing warmth to the cold reality of her native land.
Women should be more active, and she should encourage others to work on these issues. So maybe on this time, in this difficult period of our history, of our nation, women could play a key role on saving the country and saving the nation.
For outstanding environmental achievement in Asia, the year 2000 Goldman Environmental Prize is awarded to Ataniyazova of the Republic of Karakalpakstan, Uzbekistan.
Thank you very much. It's a great pleasure for me to be here today with you, and I'm really glad and honored. This award, I'm really happy that these events happen in my life, because Goldman Environmental Prize, it is not recognition of only my activities. This is in recognition of my country, Karakalpak nation, and our problem as well. Because still, even now, we have so many difficulties by sometimes ignoring of problem of community and local people. I would like to tell a little bit more about the RLC crisis, because this is unique situation, unique catastrophe which continue currently, and also about my activities, because somehow today I don't know who I am, because I was a good physician before, I was a scientist, and now many people asking what I am doing, and I'm just sometimes losing basis, because I'm doing a lot of things. On the same time, when I'm just realizing what happens and what kind of changes my activities bring to my community, I analyze that there is not so much positive changes in our life in general, and that situation even worsening. But that's another problem. Well, I would like to tell that, to start maybe with this, what bring me to be community workers. The RLC made this catastrophe touch my life. I swam in the RLC when I was a child 30 years ago, and this is dramatic changes which happened just during 30 or 45 years. During generation of one generation of people. And now you can see that there is about 2/3 of part of the sea is shrinked, and there is lots of huge amount of territory became as a desert. We called it Aral Kum. We have Kızılkum and Karakum, that's a desert in Central Asia, and now we have Aral Kum, which can include 3 million hectares of land which exposed after shrinking of the Aral Sea. And today when I came here, I passed the Amu Darya River, and I can tell you that there is no Amu Darya River anymore within Karakalpakstan. It was a huge river which was spanning during 1 kilometer, 1,000 meters from one side to other. And today there is little water left, which hardly we can tell as a canal. And we can constant today that there is no Amu Darya River anymore in the Karakalpakstan, within Karakalpakstan. And there is dramatic changes in the environment in general. More than 150 plant species have been extinct. The number of fish has been severely declined. About 35 kinds of birds have changed their migration during last years, and 6 mammals was declined during these 30 or 45 years.
It's hard to believe that this region has very rich nature with tigers, with sanatoriums and camps for children around the Aral Sea, that fish industry provided 50% of income for this region. There is also, as you have seen on the film, huge pollution of the area, but different toxins. And it took, on behind of this data, there is people's life. History of Karakalpak Nation with its 1,000 years of history, with their own culture, language, traditions, which is slowly dying with the Aral Sea. And there also, one of the biggest problems today is water, drinking water and irrigation water. Polluted and unsafe water is one of the emergency problems in that area. About 150,000 tons of toxic substances entered to the river, Amudarya River, during the last 10 years. And currently about 65% of tube lines, they don't match to the standards of drinking water in Karakalpakstan. There is also much problem around the Aral Sea, which includes north part of Karakalpakstan. About 90% of schools, kindergarten, and hospitals, they have no drinking water, safe drinking water in that area. Health condition, as mentioned by Mr. Goldman and also on the film, there is big problem still worsening, and there is 100% of anemia, tuberculosis, cancer disease, birth abnormalities, and many, many others. Main problem which we discovered just recently, that 85% of women, they have thyroid problem, which is obviously dangerous not only for women, also for infants, for newborn. When I started my activities as a physician 20 years ago around the Aral Sea, I was a young physician who cannot make some emergency help like C-section. I was OBGYN. And I thought if I will improve my skills, I will be one of the best who can help women, and started from myself and started to look what we can do to improve women's life. Also, I was very impressed that our women during Soviet system, they know very well about many maybe subjects, but they don't know so much about their body. They don't know about the hygiene, never trained and teach it in the school or during life. We had not so much education on health in Soviet countries. So I dedicated my life during now 15 years for this work, and 10 years I'm working as a leader of non-governmental organizations. I prepared myself first for this work, and I have done PhD and then doctoral dissertation on environmental factors. And always I come back to my country and started to improve something. And then I realized that it's very difficult to use your knowledge within monopoly of Soviet system on public health system. And then I started to organize my organization, and I didn't know about grants, about projects, about donors. I put all my money what I have had before and started my organization. I thought it should be a small organization with practical help to concrete women in a rural area. And currently, starting from one person in 1992, currently Center President has 95 people in staff, and we're covering 150,000 people by our activities. And during 10 years, we have done really a good success. And it's include different things like we have our own clinic where every year we're consulting about 2,500 people. And we have also a safe motherhood center in rural area where we provide every pregnant woman with a health education program, with training, with practical help, and with some honorarium if they come to this clinic with their husbands and mother-in-law. We have educational program on sex education and reproductive health. We have a crisis center for women on domestic violence, because women's status in the family, in society is very important as well. We have our own journal, which we started with Eurasia Foundation as a bulletin, and today it's colorful journal, which have subscription from all former Soviet Union countries and plus from London in some European countries. And water laboratory, we have, there is our partner Ecologia organization from Pennsylvania, And we have different our branches in a rural area, which we started with Global Fund for Women in 1997. We're also supporting kindergarten, schools, hospitals, and working with them. Branches of Present we have at 7 districts in Karakol, Pakistan. We have research program. First in our country, we discover and measured level of toxins in blood and breast milk, and the data is awful. One of the most toxic dioxin and chlororganic pesticides discovered in 90% of samples of breast milk in Karakol, Pakistan. So this is our success, but this success was not easy. When I started at the beginning in 1992, everybody just curious why I'm doing. I left governmental job. I was a doctor of medical science, and I left to do community work, and many people just don't understand. And also there were many difficulties. For instance, when we get first time humanitarian aid to distribute to community, it was just a sort of scandal why U.S. agency giving aid to non-governmental organizations. Also, during these years, we had many partners. I would like to tell a few things about NGO, like as a comments for morning session, because there is different, as an expert who have receiving many grants from donors and working on grassroots level, I think opinion will be maybe interesting for you. First of all, there is different NGOs in my country. Current economical situations drive people to do many things, and it's not a secret that NGO become one of the main sources for income. So today there is different type of NGO. The government also created governmental NGO. We called it governmental NGO. And also there is NGO which change their activity every year depending on donors. So it's not sustainable, it's just misusing of funding. And there is few NGO which have realistic and practical help to the community. So, for instance, in Karakol, Pakistan, this is autonomous republic within Uzbekistan, there is registered about 240 NGOs. And unfortunately, there is only 5 or 6 NGOs who have real grassroots activities, and they have practical help to community. And also about partnership. Well, I would tell that maybe because of the RLC, I don't know, RLC become as a magic word for the donors. Everybody would like to help. But during my experience working as a grassroots local NGO, I have good and also bad partner experience working with international NGO. Well, it's not secret that many, in my experience, there were NGO international which came to our area and duplicating our activities, ignoring us as a local organization. And also they try to help the people become professional, you know. So if they will lose this job, or I'm thinking sometimes if the RLC will die or will fall, maybe there will be many unemployment people from international agencies which specialize on this problem. They would like to keep this subject as a profession, and in this position it's very difficult to develop as a local NGO. Because when we applying to donor, they said, well, there is international NGO which working, please apply it to them. So that's one thing. In other things, international NGO try to bring consultants to help us, but they should learn what is our needs. We would like to see as a facilitator, not duplicating, not replacing us, to facilitate and to help us to grow and develop by ourselves. That's the main point, because in our experience, for instance, they sent us some consultant which we don't need at all, and this consultant was training us on alphabet, starting from ABCD. As you know, 99 people in our country, they have high education. So it was just very difficult to fight with international agencies to be able to choose partner, to be able to choose our consultant by ourselves, to cover our needs and other emergency our problem. Maybe so why, unfortunately, despite of the achievement of involvement of international and local organizations in this area, despite of spending several $100 million and 2 decades in the RLC crisis, there is not so positive changes in our life. Currently, the RLC crisis continuing, progressing, and year 2001 was one of the difficult year in my for my country, for Karakalpakstan, because of drought. The drought occurred this year has resulted in losses of the agricultural harvest industry, which produces mainly rice and cotton. Almost all rice and cotton was declined, and it has impact to economic and social situation of the people. So, and prognosis of next year is uncertain in my country. So, the fate and future of my country under concern for next period. So, this is problem of minority. This is problem of trans-border using of Amu Darya River, and with the situation in Afghanistan. We don't know if Afghanistan will start agricultural program. There is no coordinating body of regulation and distribution of water in the river, so that means our future will be under concern at all. So what I would like to tell, I think I have no time, so what I would suggest, I think it's very difficult to do right things. It's very difficult. So if I will be, for instance, a donor, I started to be a donor with help of Goldman Prize, but to whom I will give the money? It doesn't matter which organization it is, governmental or non-governmental. It's very important what they are doing, if they are really helping to the community. So if we will do right things and keep right way on local level, regional and international, I think we can save not only RLC, will be saved the planet. Thank you very much.
Well, what a substantive lunch this has been. Richard Goldman has made a powerful challenge to philanthropists, and Dr. Ataniyazova has given an inspiring and chastening but also challenging talk. And I thought the last part, especially for those of us in the United States who are trying to think of how to do effective philanthropy abroad, her points about the difficulty of identifying effective indigenous NGOs and then the integration of work by the international NGOs and local ones is something that I know is the theme of this conference, and we will take to heart. We are making you work hard, but that's just what you came here for. So you have basically just enough time until 2:15 to walk to Bishop Auditorium. For those of you not familiar with the Stanford campus, there are guides who will show you the way. I look forward to seeing you this afternoon. Thank you.